So one of the first things you'll need to do after a new customer is signed up is just to make sure that they're receiving the daily reports. They get them in email and they look something like this. This is a report for an existing client. And it gives a full breakdown of all the various features of SocialHootz, including the people that we've followed on Facebook, Twitter, and the people that we've unfollowed, as well as the messages that have gone out for the day. It also focuses on the SEO, the reports, the updates and recommendations that we need to make to our website based on the keywords we're going after. It will also track the side-by-side comparisons of our competitors and produce quite a lot of information about things that haven't been done. Like, for example, here we can see Discus hasn't been set up, some business details haven't been provided, some of the pages on the website need attention. Now, some of these things are things that the client will have to do with their own web company, and some of these things that we will have to do as part of their social media providers. But effectively, as long as they're getting these reports, both the clients and the reseller should be able to know what needs attention. And of course, the idea with these reports is a lot of the work being done requires ongoing tweaking. And so it's important that both parties have these reports so that both parties can manage the goals and the anticipated benefits of the features. Now, what we need to do is, first of all, we just need to ask the client to make sure that they're getting those reports. But what we can do is actually double check that the email that the reports are being sent to are in fact the correct email. So I've just logged into an account here. There's two accounts, two pre-existing accounts. And to find out the reports, or to find out where the reports are going to, just click on settings. And there's one already here. Now this was the person that signed up. And you can see you've got an email address. Now that is actually going to kellymcpheedesign@gmail.com. Now if you want to add another email account, or you want another individual to receive these reports, sometimes you as the reseller might want to receive those reports yourself. Just put in the details and the email is most important. And make sure this is checked. It should be checked by default. And when you've done that, just click Save and Publish. Now what will happen is the next day, the report will not only go out to the client, but it will also go out to the designated reseller. There might be more than one individual in the business that wants to receive these reports. It could be a CEO, it could be another manager, it could be more than one individual, and we can add more individuals as we need to. Now the next major step in this process is adding the campaigns. When the customer registered for the service, they would have selected one or many campaigns in the registration sign up. And so the next step is we need to plug that information into the software. We need to tell the software what it is the customer is trying to do. Now, during the meeting with the client, we will need to at some point ask them about this. And it's very difficult sometimes because clients don't always know what to start with. They don't really know what their audience is searching for in search engines like Google. And sometimes they have to leave it up to us to find out. And we really, at that stage, we really don't know until we put the information into the software and wait for the reports to see just how viable those particular keywords are. So the first question is, how do we get that software how do we get those keywords into the software? Well, all we need to do is log into the software, log into SocialHootz, log into your reseller account. And I've just gone and expanded an existing client called Barber and Bar. It's an hairdressing type salon business that has a special emphasis on providing drinks to their customers while they're having their hair cut. So we're going to assume then that this particular client, this hairdresser, wants to rank for hairdressers in Cheltenham. And so the first thing that we need to do is go to the keyword goals, which is right at the top. When you click on goals and tasks, it's the first thing you see. And we're going to type into the core business keyword section, hairdressing, hairdressers. Let's go with hairdressers in Cheltenham. Now it doesn't have to be that great to start with. Like I said before, the software will compensate for the value of those keywords by providing us with alternatives with an assigned volume as well. So we're going to click on the corresponding page because obviously we need to be able to tie that keyword to an existing page on the customer's website, so that when somebody does search for those terms in Google, we need to give the website the best possible chance of presenting itself before Google and saying, really, this is the page that we think our customers are landing on or want to land on when they enter this search term. And all we need to do is click add. It takes us over to the website or a sitemap of the website, and you can see these are all the pages on the website, and we can expand these pages to see, what else, what are the aspects of the keyword we might be able to use within these pages. And you can see really the only page really that really talks about hairdressing is the barbershop bar Cheltenham. So I'm going to click that. Now this option is really to be used if the company is using WordPress, because there is an integration with WordPress, and SocialHootz will update the website or can update the website with keywords in real time. So in effect, we're able to keep the WordPress website, the SEO and the keywords in sync with the market demand at any given time. But for now, we're going to assume this client hasn't got a WordPress site, and we're just going to simply integrate that keyword campaign with a corresponding page. Once we've done that, all we need to do is click Save and Publish. So now we're going to look at the marketing mix and getting the messages configured. As you can see in our diagram, social media marketing is a major part of the process. We need to make sure that our posts are right, that we're getting the right mix across the board. We want to make sure that we're getting the right amount of promotional messages out. We want to make sure we're getting the right amount of editorial messages out. And we don't want to overdo promotional, because if we put too many promotional messages out, it can have a negative effect on our marketing, because with social media, most of the time, end users are expecting to see high value content that's engaging, and that has the ability to make them want to come back for more, so that whenever they see anything that we post or our clients post, they will associate that with high value content. So we want to reinforce that message, not only through our social media, but also to the clients. It will happen sometimes that the client will want to go and promote more than they should, and sometimes it's very difficult because obviously the client is always right. But in this case, we've got to be very, very careful that we don't let the client run away, because they can actually do a lot more damage if we do let them promote too much. So the key is to getting the ratios right. We recommend 1 and 3, i.e. 1 promotional post versus 2 editorial posts. Probably 3, probably no more than 4 messages a day in our social media platforms. So what we're going to look at now is just how we set that up. If I click on goals and tasks, like before, we get this one page where we can kind of manage everything. If you scroll down, you will see that there are 3 areas: website internal, website external, and curations. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about what each of those are. Website internal is effectively all the content from the client's website. It can be blogs that come from the client's website. It can be products. It could be, if it's a dealership, it could be cars. If it's a holiday site, it could be package holidays, and so on and so forth. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get maybe the minimum of 1 a day. If I click 1 post a day, you'll see what I mean. We can actually have 3 if we want, but we don't allow more than 3. Now, just to give you an idea where this content comes from, if I click on website internal, you will see this is the client's website that has been extracted into SocialHootz. And we've been able to, because we've extracted the client's website, we're able to control the content on the client's website. Now, this particular client has gone and handpicked content that SocialHootz has extracted. You can see this one hasn't been used, and you can see here we've got SocialHootz has gone and pulled messages from the website and provided minified links. Now, the client can go into these particular messages, and like this client has added some custom images which is perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're getting the essence of the client's business out there. But this is really, all of these messages have been hand selected by the client. The client knows what's going out and has even managed to put in some images. If I go back to goals and tasks, you'll see the other option is website external, and this is the landing pages that we provide, or the sites that we provide. Now there's a lot more than this, but this particular client is using some offers on one of our special offer pages, and also you can see they've used the integration module to automatically extract what looks like special offers from their own website. So anything on the website's external is effectively landing pages that we provide that have used an integration so that content coming off the website is automatically extracted and pushed onto those landing pages. And then finally, we have curations, and each one of these will be a video in its own right, but you can see if I pull up the curations, there's content that has actually nothing to do with the website. It's got nothing to do with the client's own content. These have come from other sources, and effectively gives our social media platform some variety, because we're now sharing, like-minded articles or content from like-minded businesses. So to manage the distribution of those three options, we simply need to specify that in this section here. We're going to say we're going to have one piece of content come from our website. We're going to be using integrations. If we are using integrations, we might say we're going to have one piece of content come from one of our integrations, and we might say we're going to allow two posts to go out that have been curated. Now, one of the things that I always recommend when we register a new client is to actually see what we can use from the client's own website. It's often the best source of content because it encapsulates what the client's trying to achieve without having to do too much work. They've really, in most cases, taken some time to think about what they put on their website. So it's usually extremely relevant, and most of the time it comes with good assets, good images, and sometimes even videos. So as part of the media mix that we talked about in another video, it's important to see what we can use and ensure that it is being used. And so to do that, we have to make sure, and usually within 24 hours, the website's been indexed. And when we say it's been indexed, it's been categorized, and we've created a sitemap. And it's not just a sitemap. The actual pages themselves have automatically been parsed to extract as many useful messages as we can. So in this example, we're on a page called Men's Guide to Beards. If I were to click on the link, you can see it's managed to find 4 useful messages. If I were to take that link would take us directly to the customer's page, which would be about Men's Guide to Beards. And so you can see there isn't an awful lot of content on there. It's one big image, but maybe out of those 4 or 5 sentences there, we've been able to break them down into individual sentences and actually put some hashtags together, put a link together, and we can enable those or disable those messages just by clicking the power button. Now, we have to be selective about this because a lot of the content that we might pick up could be redundant content, it could be sitemap content, it could be contact us content, it could be terms and conditions on a client's website that would actually would never be something we'd want to put in front of our potential customers. So we do have to be quite selective when we do this, and it is one of those manual processes, unfortunately, but it only has to be done once. But one thing I always recommend if you're going to use the custom content from a client's website is that you make sure to add images alongside each piece of content. And to do that, all you need to do is click this plus sign, and it brings up this box that says URL in it. All you need to do is go to the client's website, and if we are taking content from that particular page, it makes sense to use that particular URL. If I go back to SocialHootz and put that in there and parse that, click the parse button, SocialHootz now goes off to see what images it can extract from the particular page. And since we're talking about men's beards, we can select that. And you can see it's now assigned that particular image to this piece of content. Now if we click that, that content now, that piece of content is now enabled, and it will go on a queue, and it will continue to be processed either until it's removed, or it comes off the website, or the page is removed, which means that there's a perpetual sense of content going out there, even when maybe things have dried up a little bit with the curations or with our website external posts. So we can select as many of those as we want, and also we can add more. We can add our own. They don't even have to belong to that page, and we can put in as much content as we like. And you can see there's a number count there because it wants to honor the Twitter 140 character limit. So we can add our own custom messages, but again, I would always emphasize that if you're going to do this, which I do recommend you do, but if you are going to do this, make sure you select images. Now, there's a couple of other things to mention. We can, whenever we do this, we have to select this option to manually manage messages, because SocialHootz is all about integration and keeping your website in sync. And there's also options from the website level to specify or to wrap particular tags around the content so that SocialHootz knows to automatically extract it and put it in the list as we see it now in bold. But if that's not been set up, and we go in and add our own custom messages, and we leave this unchecked, then when SocialHootz resyncs the website, it will overwrite all of those messages. So we need to make sure anytime we select any manual messages, we select the manual message option. And if we only want those messages to be used within a certain time frame, we can specify a start and stop date. Most of the time you never need to use a start date, but you might say these messages are only valid till the end of the year, or maybe in the middle of May, and we can actually specify when those messages should be prevented from going out. Of course, whenever we do anything, you need to remember to click Save and Publish. And once that's done, those messages will then be added to the queue, and they will go through those social media accounts. So of all the tasks that we've talked about so far, this is probably the most straightforward. Effectively, all we need to do is provide a bit more information as to the breakdown of the particular client that we're dealing with. So when the customer signed up on the registration page, one of the things they would have been asked was their category of business. And at this stage, we only really want to take a broad level view of the customer's business, because if we ask them to provide subcategories at the registration or the sign-up page, it just means it might delay the sign-up, because it is asking a bit much from clients at this stage. So we do this afterwards. You can see this particular client, if I click on business details, that's where all the information that was provided at sign-up is created and stored. And you can see this is all the information that a customer would have provided when they registered. What we need to do is, you can see health and fitness was the category for this particular business, but there are no subcategories. So we click add, and what we need to do is we can only select subcategories within health and fitness. If we expand it, you'll see that there are a lot more subcategories, and this just lets us kind of narrow things down. Now this is important, because a lot of the services that this product provides is contextual, and it's based on what kind of business we're dealing with. So for example, the curated content, if we're going to use pre-configured content, that could be a possibility, then it will be based on the subcategories of a business. If a business puts in obesity as a subcategory, then it will mean that the curated content that's being pre-configured for the subcategory of obesity will be one of the categories used for that business's content. So selecting the right subcategories does have an impact on the content that we will provide for the client. Also, there are other features where we will allow some content sharing to happen between clients, but of course we won't let clients that are in the same subcategories share content through one another's platforms because of the conflict of interest. And we will only know that if we set up the right subcategories in the first instance. So this particular company is dealing with, let me see, hair. I don't know, hair loss could be relevant. But there's certainly a barber, and maybe beauty could be involved. So if I click those three, you can see it's added them to the list. And if you just click Save and Publish, then you're done. So this particular section of the how-to guide deals with setting up the integrations with your client's social media platforms. Now, to get to that section or that page, all you need to do is, through your reseller portal, find your client, expand and navigate to service overrides. And when you do so, you'll be presented with a page that lists all of these different social media platforms. And on the right side, there'll be an authorize button for each one. And you've probably seen this before on different devices, on possibly your phone, when you want to integrate an app on your phone with Facebook. It uses OAuth 2, which is the standard protocol for authenticating various platforms. And so what I've done is I'm going to, for the purpose of the demo, just use my own social media accounts just to explain and demonstrate how easy it is to integrate your clients' social media accounts. One thing I would add is make sure when you do this, if you're doing it on your own machine, that you're actually not logged into your own personal Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Tumblr account, because it will assume they're the accounts you want to integrate. So I've logged out of Facebook, and now I want to log back in again through this authorize button. When I click that, it will present me with the standard Facebook login. I'm going to put my email address in and my password. And then when I click login, what it's going to do is it's going to go off to Facebook, verify my password, and provide a token, which will give SocialHootz the ability later on to post messages and do some other things on our client's behalf through SocialHootz. So now it's returned an image of myself, and that's just verification with the ID that it has in fact picked up my account, that it is valid. But of course we can't use personal pages, so if the client does have more than one business page, we will be required to select that. I want to select SocialHootz. We do the same thing with Twitter. We click the Twitter authorize button, except this time it will bring up the Twitter login. I'm going to just log in now. Authorize that app. And it takes a few seconds. It's going off to Twitter, and it's getting the details and bringing them back to SocialHootz. So you can see again, it's been able to find us. Now, we don't have to do them all at once. We can come back later on. But the main thing is that when we're finished, we click Save and Publish. And then by doing that, the software will be ready to promote the messages that we may have selected from the previous videos that in which we've discussed selecting the messages and the mix. So the purpose of this video is to explain how we can integrate content from a client's website with SocialHootz. We have lots of reasons to take content from one website and to be able to transform that data and those images and that text into usable social media. One such example I want to talk about today is a simple example of a car dealership. They have lots of used cars on there, and obviously from time to time when they put new cars on, they want to promote those new cars through their social media accounts. Now, ordinarily, SocialHootz would pull the content and it would present it to the user within the website internal section, which we briefly talked about in another video. However, it doesn't understand or know the purpose of the data, so it doesn't really know how to transform that data on that page to something that will be usable and useful for our social media accounts. So we use the integrations to manage this. If you log into your reseller account, go to the client and expand the integrations section. We get a list of different contexts for integration. So for example, we might want to integrate blogs or events. If we're putting events on our website, we might want to extract those. We might want to take news or reviews or special offers. And the reason we've got them in separate categories is because the intention of each particular context can be different. So for example, if we take content from a blog, we'll put it to a specific blog site. If we take content from a news site or some news on our website and we want to promote that, we'll promote that slightly differently. For example, a special offer, we'll put that specifically to our special offer platform. So depending on what it is the user wants to do with the data on the website, we can channel it to the right landing pages and to the right resources. Now, because we're taking content directly from the customer's website in the form of cars, we're going to use the status updates tab, which is tightly integrated with the website internal, which is where we capture all of the customer's content directly. So in another video, we talked about this briefly. You could see if we were to go onto the Robinhood website, that the actual site map actually references or maps what we've picked up in SocialHootz. And if we were to expand used cars, you can see that the clients' cars are in the list. Now we need access to those, but we know that they're not going to be useful in their current format. So to be able to make them useful, we use this particular section called status updates. And the first thing we need to do, and we've talked about this in another video, and there's a couple of other videos that go into more detail, but the first thing we need to do is we need to go to the client's website and we need to use our SocialHootz extraction tool, which allows us to get at the HTML. Now, all that is a bookmarklet, and to be able to access that and use it in your own browser, all you need to do is go to SocialHootz, go to the support section, go to website internal, and go to website configuration. And there's a link to the extraction tool, and all you need to do is right click and bookmark this link, and it will add what you see here to your bookmark list. Now we've opened that for Robinhood Motors, and the first thing we need to do is we need to extract the content for this page. Now there's a couple of ways we can do that. We can either do it at the summary level, or we can do it on the page level. Now if I click on the actual car itself, that is often better to use because we get a lot more information than we do on a summary level. Plus, by doing it this way, when this car has been sold and this actual page is removed, because it comes out of the website internal section, it will be removed from the queue, which means that we don't have a situation where a car's been sold and it's still being promoted. So we will open up the tool again. The first thing we want to do is we want to use the parent. We want to find a portion of the HTML that encapsulates enough of the information that we want. And ideally we want, if I click on select parent, we want everything within that blue box. We want the image, we want the description, we want the price. So I click that, and you'll notice that it started to create a script. And all that does so far is tell SocialHootz where to start parsing the data, because obviously there's a lot of information on that website that we don't, or that page, that is not relevant, and we don't want that. Next thing to do is to click title in the extraction tool, find the title, select image, click the image, and in this case we're going to use description, not summary. We're going to use description. And finally, we need the price. And so all we need to do now is take that script, which SocialHootz will understand what to do with it, copy and paste it back over to the capture filter. We can give this a description. We don't have to, it's not mandatory, but it just might help in the future to know what this extraction's for. And then we just need to give it the link or the starting point. And we want to say everything from underneath used cars. We want you to search for cars within that particular hierarchy of the website. And that's all we need to do. We can test the integration next by clicking preview selected options or integrations. And this takes a little while, and what it has to do is it has to now physically go to the website, apply this filter, and ensure that I can actually read it, pick it up, because once the software has been able to establish a connection with this particular page or this section of the website, we know then that it will be able to automatically poll that page from now on. So we're going to let that do that. There we go, it's come back now, it says success. We found your title, body and image, which is what we want. In fact, we can't allow this to go through unless it picks up all of those things. It's picked up the title as a sample, it's picked up the body content, which will form part of the social media message, picked up the image, that's crucial. So now we know it's actually picked it up. The next step is to actually run the integration. So if we click add all integrations and click save and publish, what the software is going to do now is it's going to go back through the website internal section and insert into each one of those pages a message now that comprises the title, the summary, and the image. And that will then go on the queue, which will then mean that we have straight away, even before the automation is used, we've got the entire stock of all the cars already assigned to SocialHootz, and we can effectively walk away. Now, of course, that alone will give us the first selection of all the messages, but it's not going to be in sync until we select the activate option. And what that does is it actually tells SocialHootz now that, okay, we've gone and grabbed all of the cars, we've put them on the queue, but now we want it to be done automatically. So even though we're doing this manually once, the software will do this every day. So each day the software will go and check the website, will check all the pages underneath used cars, it will look for any new used cars, and it will automatically create the messages for those new cars based on the criteria that we've got here. And that will then mean that if any new cars are added, they'll get picked up. If any old cars are removed and the page is removed, they will get taken down. Now, there are some circumstances where some businesses, particularly car dealers, for example, they don't always take the car off the website. Sometimes they will put like another image over, an overlay image over the car to say it's been sold. Estate agents do the same thing. When they sell a property, they like to show their customers that they are good at selling cars, they are good at selling properties, and so they like to make sure that those properties are around, those cars are around for a couple of days, sometimes weeks after they've been sold. Now, what we can do now is we can go into the website internal, and if we click on these any one of these vehicles, let me just pick up on, I don't know, BMW. You can see that it's actually gone and selected the car. It's gone and given us the information we need, because bear in mind this is the message that will be used for a social media message. So imagine this could be Twitter or Facebook, and all we're doing is we're telling our audience that we've got a car, BMW 2,995, along with the image. And you'll notice it's already bold, because previously when the SocialHootz extracts what it can from the content, it doesn't promote it until the customer approves it. But because of the integration, and we've already explicitly said that we want to promote those cards, we want to pick up the cards, we've told the software that it will automatically enable those messages, which means that those messages now will be posted directly through their social media accounts. So in this section, I'll talk about adding a company logo, and it's used for lots of different things inside SocialHootz. It could be the landing pages, for example. It will be an image that's used as a generic default image over on the right here. When we don't have any specified images, it could be used for the email marketing module. It just means that we've got an asset that we know will be suitable for any kind of generic boilerplate headers or footers. And so to add that, all we need to do is click on the business details section. Again, we're going to be using Barber and Bar as a sample. And if you scroll down, you'll see a section or a placeholder for a logo. If you click the plus button, you'll be presented with this this panel for adding a URL. If you go to the company website, grab the domain, go back over to the URL box, paste in the domain. It'll go off and it will scan the site for some images. You can use anything you want, but obviously we want the logo, so we'll select Barber and Bar, click select, click save and publish, and we're done. So in this segment, I'm going to talk about the mapping and the importance of getting the coordinates correct. When the customer signed up, they did give us their postcode and their county, but sometimes the postcode doesn't always translate correctly with Google Maps. And if you scroll right down to the bottom, I should mention we're in business details. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you can see we've got the address and we've got what we think is the right location. It's always good to check. And the easiest way I find is just to get the postcode and just add it again and just make sure that it pulls up the correct. Yeah, Wincham Street, that's correct. And then we can zoom in on that, and we can do this because there's a couple of reasons why we need to have this correct. One obvious is the visual impact of these when the specials go out. We do provide an address, and of course the depth that we see that map would be dependent on how much we zoom in here. So we can have it zoomed in a lot. We can have it zoomed out further back if we want. It's up to us really. And the more important thing is the radius. Now there's another feature that listens to conversations people are having within a set radius, and this is in kilometers. So by putting in 10, we're saying that anybody that has a conversation within 10 kilometers of our mark area, we want to make sure that we're informed, and that those particular potential customers are automatically engaged. We don't want to go any further than that. That's our remit. It's particularly relevant for local businesses, gyms, car dealers, businesses that have a fixed region and they don't really want to go on, or they don't want to receive inquiries that are too far afield. Once that's done, you just click Save and Publish, and it will save that into the settings, and it will act upon them at the next iteration of the software. So in this video, I'm going to talk about competition and how to set up the parameters for the competition feature. There's a really good article in the support section about how the competition feature actually works. It's definitely worth a read. It goes into some detail about the theory behind it and also the implementation. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to keep it very straightforward. To get to the competition inside SocialHootz, you just go into your client's portal and you navigate to competition. And what you're presented with is three options. The first is the ability to remove people that don't follow you back. Because the software is constantly following new people, we also have to keep track of people that don't follow us back, because we want to keep some kind of balance in our social media profiles. So for example, if we follow somebody and they don't follow us back within a pre-configured set time, which in this case happens to be 14 days, it will unfollow them, put them on a whitelist so that we don't end up following them twice. Now, these are the two more important in terms of growing our audience. This particular option will follow the individuals or the users that our competitors followed. And that is quite useful because we know that from our competitors' perspective that those individuals were worth following, and that would apply to us as well. The other option is to follow people that have followed our competition. That doesn't necessarily mean that our competition wanted them to follow them, but we do know that those particular users were interested in our competitors for some reason. They went and followed them. And so if they were interested in our competitors, there is a good argument that they would be interested in following us also. So one of the reasons we go after competitors' followers is because we already know to some degree the caliber of those followers. We know they're interested in the products and the services or the posts of those individual businesses. And we want that audience. We want to be able to tap into that audience also. And by just selecting those three options, we told SocialHootz what we want to achieve. Now, I would say you can turn all three of those on, but you might decide that you actually don't want to have your audience grown with followers that may have followed your competitors, but they may not have been relevant. So it's up to you to play around with this, and I would suggest you try different things and see what kind of response rate you get, and then come back and tweak it as needs be. Now, we've talked about the options to follow and to unfollow, but how do we know what we're following or who we're following? And if you scroll down a little further, you've got this what we call a competition list. Now, in another video, with regards to the campaign keyword option, we put in certain campaigns. So, for example, if we put in used car finance, Milton Keynes, then the software will invoke a search in Google. It will scrape all of the links for those 10 or 15 local competitors that are also going after used cars, Milton Keynes. And then the software will go to each one of those websites, and it will scrape the social media handles. In this case, the Twitter handles, and that's what we see here. All of these are Twitter handles that were based upon the competition keyword that was used as part of the campaign. And so these were put there by the software, but we can actually manually put in our own. So we might have competitors down the road that we'd like to go after, and simply putting in the handle of the social media account, the Twitter account, will tell SocialHootz to also aim to follow those users as well. Once that's done, all we need to do is click Save and Publish. So in this segment, we're going to look at setting up direct engagement. And direct engagement is another term we use for the social media listening of our potential prospects over a period of time and within a certain region. Now, that region would have been specified in the business details. We did that in another video. You'll recall that we were able to put in a radius, and based on the marker, we already had a longitude and latitude. Now, this particular feature needs that information in order to be able to find the right kinds of people. So to set it up, we simply need to click on the direct engagement section. And the first two things we're presented with is the allowed expired hours before we engage. Now, if someone were to put something on Twitter, we might say, well, after 10 hours or 15 hours, it's too late. If, for example, we were a taxi rank company and somebody got onto Twitter and said, I need a taxi, we would want to be able to, it would only be relevant to engage them within 10 to 15 minutes at best. Some other businesses, it's not such a concern, but we can still specify when we would consider this particular inquiry to not be expired. So let's just say 10 hours. And the number of engagements to respond to in a given hour. If there's a rush and there's something happening, it could be a piece of news that we're picking up on, or it could be something that's extremely pertinent to our business based on a time frame, like a sale. We might say that we want to, we're happy to manage 10 engagements within the same hour. Now, how do we go and set up these particular engagements? Well, it's a combination of a watchword and a response statement, and we can have as many of these as we want. But since we're dealing with barbers, we're going to say anybody that goes onto Twitter and enters, I'm looking for a barber that does beards, we want to automatically engage that individual, and we can say something like, I noticed you said you're looking for barbers that do beards. That's exactly what we do. And we're around the corner. So, give us a call. So what that means is if anybody were to go on Twitter and to say this, and as long as it was within the right catchment area, this particular response would be sent back to that particular individual. Now, of course, from the individual's perspective, they think that you've actually personally responded to them, and you haven't. The software's done it on your behalf. However, what we say to businesses that are using this feature, if the phone rings, or you get an email out of the blue, or you get a response back on Twitter, all you need to do, if it's a phone call, is ask them what it was regarding, and they'll tell you, and then you just need to close the sale. The great thing about this is it can be used for lots and lots of different applications. It can be used for direct sales like this, but it can also be used for surveys, for getting information, for finding out what people are saying or thinking or doing, and we can use that information to our benefit. We can also add more just by clicking the plus sign. We can remove those watchwords that we don't want to use anymore, and we can disable them as well. We might not want to use them right now. We can put them all in there and we can disable them. We can play around with these. This is one of those features where it is kind of trial and error. You try for a couple of weeks, see what kind of response rate you get, and then you go from there. The outputs of this are all sent in the daily report. So this is the direct engagement results for a dealership that is specified. One of the watchwords is I'm looking for a BMW, on the lookout for an Audi, looking for a Merc, looking for a Mercedes, and you can try different variations of the same thing. In this particular instance, or on this particular day, which was on the 20th of January, there was no bites. Nobody actually said that within that particular region. If somebody were to say that, this would be green. Not only would you have the watchword, but you'd also have the response from, or the initial response from the individual that went and mentioned that. So if you do want to get in touch with them directly, you can do. And it's particularly useful for local business. So it's definitely worth setting this up. It takes a few minutes to do that, and I've just shown you how you can do that. Obviously, it takes a little longer if you're going to put more watchwords in there. You may have to have a little discussion with the client just to see if he can give you or she can give you any help on putting together or crafting together the first few watchwords. So now we're going to look at the curations, and this is what we talked about earlier. This is one of the content sources by which we can provide really good quality content for our clients. That may either be customized. The client might say there are particular local businesses or charities or sports clubs that we want to promote as part of what we're doing, which we can program. Or they might say, look, we just want to use, some of your own pre-configured content providers. It could be for cars, it could be Top Gear, it could be Auto Trader, it could be, Sky, stuff on BBC News, whatever it is that is relevant to our company or our client. And rather than go over the setup of curations, there are actually videos that describe how to set up the curations on the website underneath SocialHootz support curations and settings. This shows us how to add new curations, and there's another video underneath the custom section that highlights and overviews how to create our own custom integrations, adding new content sources. So rather than me explain those, I would recommend that you simply navigate to SocialHootz support curations and have a look at those too. But it is essential that you add that to your new customers, new clients, curation settings so they can take advantage of all of the benefits and features of all that fresh content coming through each day.